Well, a good morning to you. Welcome to Sunday Best right here on KTN Home. Thank you very much for making time to be with us. It's good to have you. My name is Anthony Ndiema. Always a pleasure. And we, as much as this is a gospel program, we want to be as relevant as we can and just engage on things that affect you, matters that affect you, so that we can walk together. Yes, we all desire to go to the Father, heaven, and have a good time. But yes, we are here, and we are here to do His work and to do it well, all right? And be an influence to those we get to encounter with. So today we are talking about entrepreneurship, a very interesting topic. And we are in a place where so much has been said about, the economy, and all that, the downside of the economy. But in that economy, people are still thriving. And my prayer is that you will thrive in that economy. So to help me, just break this down, and later on, Reverend Peter Nganga, Overseer Peter Nganga will just come in and also share briefly on the same. So today we're talking about entrepreneurship and money. So I have with me Demilade Oluwasina, all right? He's the founder and product lead, that's Learnable, right? So he's here with us. It's good to have you. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
You know a few one or two Swahili words?
I think so. A bit.
A bit, huh?
Yeah.
Poa.
Greetings like asante sana.
Asante, ni poa. Yeah. There's one I want to teach you today called mbwekse.
Bwekse? That one will take a while, but I'm open to learn.
That's a proper slang. Okay. It's not the real Swahili. Okay. So for someone like you, I'll call him Mzimbi Ting.
Okay. What does that mean?
Mzimbi Ting is someone who's loaded. Their wallet is ideally a rich man.
I hear you.
All right, someone who has a bit of influence.
I will record that one.
All right, so Mzimbi Ting Demilade.
Nice.
If they hear me say that again, they'll take me somewhere else.
Okay.
But it's good to have you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for making time to be with us.
Thank you.
You have traveled, across the globe, gone to many places, many nations, just, learning what's happening here and there. And I'm sure that experience has taught you so much about entrepreneurship. Right. So I'll give you an opportunity to tell us a bit more about yourself and what this experience has generally, brought out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in you, or rather, helped you become.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me again.
Right.
And thank you for the question around entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship for me has been a journey of several years, maybe about 15 years now. I started out in Nigeria and run a business in Nigeria in print and advertising and in the media space. But I've also been in agriculture and in food, catering and all that. So, but in terms of travel, I've looked beyond that space in my journey, right? To grow and to learn about new spaces, but also to connect with new people.
Right.
And I think, like you mentioned, I've traveled across the continent to maybe about 10 countries across the continent.
Right.
Parts of Asia, parts of North America, doing business or doing work and meeting with people.
Amazing.
I think entrepreneurship, like you're saying, is being able to create value, right? And be able to be rewarded with value in return.
Lovely.
And I think that's a constant everywhere I go, talking about the idea of entrepreneurship. Right. It's practiced in different ways, right? Because people have different needs and motivation, and the society's economic level is at different levels.
That's true.
But in every society, there's entrepreneurship being practiced. Yeah.
I love the definition. I've not had it this way.
Right.
So creating value, but as you create the value, you are also rewarded.
Absolutely.
And ideally, that's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
Are there instances where you have not created value and you receive reward? Does it happen?
that has to be somebody who likes you to give you a free gift,
right,
or to I mean, ideally, economically speaking, that's not the standard.
Right.
Because the forces of the market are demand and supply.
That's true.
Somebody needs something, and then you're able to provide or supply, and that's how it works.
That's right.
But you get something for free if somebody likes you, right? Or is trying to reward you, is trying to give you a gift, or even it's an alms. Maybe somebody's in need, and then you give them something. In that case,
that's true.
Yeah.
And that question is very deliberate. So never ever think there's anything that comes for free. Even the people who like you and give you a gift, there's a value they saw.
Right.
There's something they saw in you. So izoma njeza mkato akuna. You have to create value for you to receive something out of it. So we're in a situation, Demi, where we are talking about the recession and the economy across board, in America, in Asia, in Africa, and people are saying we live in very tough times. And the money factor, the dollar and all that. Just create for us a picture where we are and why even more than ever, entrepreneurship needs to make more sense at this time and age.
That's a very good question. Yeah. The world is in a very volatile space.
Right.
Like you're saying, there's the wars, there is the bank collapses that are causing economic turmoil across the world, but there's also acceleration of technology. There's the pandemic that we just lived through. All of that have shifted the way that people work or create value, right? You find out there are not just recessions, but people losing their jobs. There are mass layoffs happening around. Essentially, with all that economic shift, it means that what we thought was secure in terms of jobs and certain opportunities is not as secure as it used to be. So we're in a space where everybody needs to start essentially taking their life in their own hands, right? Again, because of technology and the way that is shaping value creation. Somebody in the US can hire somebody on the continent, or can outsource a service, to somebody on the continent without necessarily having them work in a certain firm, right? So there's also decentralization of opportunity.
That's right.
And people that are not used to that have somebody to tell them this is what you need to do in order to earn money, might find it very difficult. The opportunities have shifted. There's challenges, but the way that the opportunities come have essentially shifted. And it takes people being able to go for it as an entrepreneur, have an entrepreneurial mindset, think about where and how they can create value in order to capture these new forms of value.
I mean, there are people who think entrepreneurship is about people who have capital, and capital in this sense, we talk about money. That I have 1 million shillings, $1,000 I can put into something for me to get something out of it. Kindly just demystify that for us so that we can actually see that you can create value wherever you are, and it can make meaning. For us, yes.
No, that's a good question. Entrepreneurship is in different levels and different forms and shapes. I think, like we were saying earlier on, entrepreneurship is practiced across the world in different places based on the economic level or the needs of such people. Right? Even the person that trades, maybe that opens a tuck shop that sells basic items, commodities. They are meeting someone's needs. They are creating value. And so they're able to get value in return. There are levels of entrepreneurship where it's investment based, like you're talking about, where you have to have huge sums of capital, right, in order to invest. But that's another level. There are levels where people can start. Some of the work that we do at Learnable Global, we do entrepreneurship development. We have a project that allows people to look at their skills, their talents, their knowledge, and turn that into a business or turn that into something of value. That's on one side. There are also people that we call startups, that go through an incubation process and have to raise funds, maybe in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, But that is not for everybody. Everybody can start. There's a common point where everybody can start. You know how to do something, or you're able to purchase something or sell it at a higher price, or you have a skill that somebody else needs, You can create value through that and trade that. So I will tell you there are many examples of people who have done that.
Right.
So people shouldn't think until I have a huge sum of capital.
Right.
In fact, if you look at many successful people who are trading in huge sums of capital today or investing, they started with some of the basic value, meeting needs, and turning that money over, increasing that gradually, reinvesting, and then now they have bigger sums to play with. So it's a process as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean, later on you will share with us a bit of the practical steps of some of the ways and your context again of how you, I know this is vast.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen in one sitting.
Absolutely.
So as believers, we've had our own challenges. I've had this again and again that I can never do business with a believer. I can't do business with my brothers and sisters in church. I've seen and I've heard some of the people talking about that. So there are some mistakes we've done as entrepreneurs who are believers. And I'll want you to share some of those with us so that we know, please don't step here. This is a good place to go. And as we continue with the conversation.
That's an interesting one, but it's also a bit sensitive or touchy in the sense that, you know, when you are believers, it's another level of family. Right. You know, and there are certain things that obtain when you are family members. You usually want to overlook certain things that you would not do for an outsider. That's true. And I think the most common one in terms of mistakes that we make when either we go into business with believers, fellow believers, or with family is that we don't take the precautions we should take. Now, business, people do business emotionally. That's something, right? People, and you must realize that you can't do that because you have records to balance at the end of the day. You have to have your cash flow coming in. And so people do things such as they give maybe free services or services on credit, you know, because this person is a believer or is a family member or a person
and they
that
have
I
a
know.
deep need.
And they have a deep need.
I need to meet the Lord has told me I need to meet this. But it's business, right?
It's business because what we need to understand is you are in business for the long term, for sustainability. You want to be able, if you can help 10 people, maybe employ 10 people in your business today. If you don't run it well, it will crash. Those 10 people, they don't have a job. True. They will be affected. Their families will be affected. So if you don't run the business well, if you're giving out loans anyhow, if you are entering into agreements where you don't have proper signing of documents or proper ways to measure and check that, then you're going to run down the business. And even the impact you want to make or the help that you want to do long term, you won't be able to do that. Right. And so those are things that are errors. We let our guards down. I'm not saying we shouldn't love and trust our fellow believers, but we know, and I've personally learned this as well, we know that we need to put systems. We need to put proper structure for people to be accountable in place because you are a steward of the business. That's right. Right? So you don't just treat it anyhow. You know, if you do this business wrong, it affects all the other people who are who are benefiting, whether as employees or as stakeholders or as customers. That's right. Yeah. So that's one of them. Right. Don't be emotional. Yeah, don't be emotional about it. Don't be emotional. I mean, money is money. It will not multiply because you have been emotional about it. No, it won't. Same principle. Absolutely. You know, demand, supply. Absolutely. You know, take, receive. Absolutely. So that's one. You can share probably a few others as well. I think as you're talking about it as well, you know, the Bible, and we're talking about Christianity, right? Right. The Bible talks about the servant who the Lord put in charge of his affairs. Right. And then when he came back and asked him to give account, he couldn't give account. Yeah. Right. And you know that the Bible talks about such things as being unprofitable. So we need to understand that even the Bible and Jesus Christ recognizes that we need to run our businesses properly if we're doing a business. Right. And we have to do that profitably. And we have to put in, if it's the right records that we need to do that help us to do that. Right. Or if it's treating people as we need to do. I think, like, talking about other mistakes that we make, and this might be general. This might not just be as Christians. That's right. These are, sometimes we don't count the costs. Well, business can be hard. As it grows, it can be really hard.
Especially the formative years.
Yes.
It can be very, very tough.
It can be very tough.
Yeah.
It can be very tough. And as you grow, you meet different sets of challenges.
Yeah.
So the challenges you met when you started will not be the same. Once you start hiring people, for example, you have another set of challenges.
Yeah.
Maybe you started your business as an individual.
That's right.
And you're selling and buying, you know everything, you know the costs. But then when you hire people, now you have to manage people. You have to check, have they done the right kind of recording? Did they buy the right things? Have they communicated properly with the clients or the customers as you should?
That's right.
So
are they being faithful?
Have they been faithful?
Yeah.
So it takes the challenges to another level. So another mistake people make sometimes is not counting the costs. Well, counting the costs in terms of what do I need for this?
Right.
Am I ready? Am I prepared? Am I ready to make the sacrifices in terms of time? In terms of, for example, if you're employed, you clock in, you clock out.
Right.
Right? At a certain point, for your business as well, it's hard to do that. So there are costs that you need to think about when you're going into business or going as an entrepreneur.
That's
so
right.
that's another thing that people make as a mistake.
That's right. In the formative years, of course, you will meet a lot of bumps and challenges. You also need your adversity quotient needs to be very, very strong.
Absolutely.
Because if you get to give up because of one or two other challenges, and probably that's what you're also saying about counting the cost. We need to think about what happens when I meet this challenge, when I make a huge loss. Do I go back? And of course you can engage in other finer details to that. So how do we make sure that we do this right?
Absolutely.
I think it's very important, even as we think about the places we miss out. How do we do it right, especially at a time like this?
Right. No, good question again. There's a number of things, right?
Yeah.
And what I want to say is that even as an entrepreneur, I've made mistakes and still make mistakes.
Yeah.
So one thing people should know is the fear of making mistakes should not stop you from going for it, from doing what you need to do. You make mistakes, you learn from them, you become wiser, or you learn from the mistakes of other people.
Right.
So to talk about how do we do it right, the first thing is sometimes you find people going into business and providing a service or a product where there's no need or where there's no market.
One. Right.
There was somebody in Kenya here who I was speaking to recently, and she was sharing her experience about how she started an e-commerce platform selling bags, bringing bags from China. But that business crashed because she didn't understand or study the market and see, do people want these types of bags?
Right.
So we're not saying just start business, but make sure you understand the needs of the market.
That's right.
Sorry,
there's something that happens a lot. I don't know if this happens elsewhere, but in Africa, and then it's in the hawking business. You will find people, 10, 20 people, hawking the same thing, same sport.
Right.
I think that need then the demand is, what is it? Is it the supply? The supply is too much.
The supply.
Yeah, so when you join that business, like what you're saying, then you haven't really considered, is that need critical at this point?
Right.
So that's one need, right?
Yes, the need, the market need. Do people need it?
Yeah.
Do they want it? Are they going to pay for it? The fact that it looks good to you doesn't mean that people need it or it will solve their problems.
That's right.
That might be fancy for you. The other thing is, of course, like we're saying, you need to establish that there's a need, that there's a need in the market, but you also need to plan, right? Like we're saying, planning is important.
Right.
Now, people say things change even when you plan. So why should you plan? The truth is, if you plan, you can cover some uncertainty. At least you have an idea when things are changing. So you plan, but you stay flexible. So if I say, for example, I'm going to sell 5,000 units of a product to a certain target audience, but but I don't get to sell those products, then I need to start thinking, should I expand my target audience to other people that would need that? So if you have a plan, it allows you to change and to adapt as you go. But if you do not have a plan at all, then you're just winging it, or you're just hoping that it works.
That's
I'm
true.
praying. And praying is not a substitute for planning.
I like that.
It's not a substitute.
It is not. Yeah.
Both work together.
That's true.
Both
Faith
should
and action,
complement,
right?
faith and action should complement each other.
That's right.
Right.
You know what? We need to bring this to an end. I know it's a conversation we can have hours on end.
Absolutely.
I like what you've said about there has to be a need. You have to find value that you're giving.
Absolutely.
But you have to plan and plan well. Don't be emotional about it.
Right.
And you also need to count the cost.
Absolutely.
I think those are 4 critical things that I've been able to pick today. I just want you to share with us probably a contact if we need to engage, because this is what you do on a daily basis. Absolutely. So that people can be able to find help eventually.
Absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely. An email or a phone number or what?
Whichever. Okay. We can do either social media or an email. Okay. That still works.
On social media, my name is Demi, D-E-M-I.
Okay.
Oluwasina, O-L-U-W-A-S-I-N-A. S-I-N-A. Yes.
Demi
Oluwasina.
Oluwasina.
Yeah, so if you type that's on social media.
All right.
Our company is called Learnable Global.
All right.
So an email, hello@learnableglobal.com.
All right.
So
Learnable is from the word learn?
Right.
Just spell that for us.
Learn.
All right.
I-B-L-E.
All right.
So Learnable.
All right.
So learning possibilities. So learnableglobal.com. So if you say hello@learnableglobal.com, we'll get your email.
All right.
Yeah.
So get to share with them. It will be important for if you this is a journey you want to pursue, that's a good place to begin so that you can get to engage. Probably just your final word to those watching, especially those who are in Africa.
Absolutely. I think, thanks, Anthony. I think on the continent, we need to start creating our own opportunities. We need to stop waiting for people to hand down things to us or create opportunities for us. And one of those places where we would restore Africa's dignity is through economic empowerment.
Right.
So the more we step out and create value, whether through entrepreneurship, if you create value, you have a bargaining power. And that's what Africa needs. So we need to harness our resources, harness our people, and create value at all levels, whether from the smallest or to the greatest.
That's right.
There's a lot more, but if everybody thinks creating value orientation, right, not asking people to give us aid or resources, then we're gradually shifting to a place of respect and
I love that.
Prosperity.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Demilade Oluwasina. All right. Right here with us. He has traveled. He has been an entrepreneur. He is one. He's a coach in entrepreneurship. So reach out, LO@learnableglobal.com, and definitely you'll find help right in there, all right? So thank you very much for tuning in. Overseer Peter Nganga will also just to come and share on the same, and I believe that will be a blessing to you. Let's create value wherever we are, and let's grow together as Africans, as Africa rises. God bless you.